Here we go. Do or die. Not for the Toronto Maple Leafs, for our show and Sammy in the next hour of the Leaf edition.
It's just die for Sammy. He's just...
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, as we just mentioned, Sammy McKee getting ready for a backs against the wall mentality for the next hour. Derek Brandeo, David Sisboom-Baugh, regular cast and crew.
Hey, I want to shout out Kevin Barker and Jeff Blair on the way out for bringing the energy. So I'm fired up. I want to play hockey right now.
Since they made the switch now, we follow them, right? But every time we come in here, it's a treat to listen to Kevin Barker because he's got that, what do they call that? That southern drawl. Right? Mm-hmm. And all I hear is, "Go Leafs, go!"
Is that your impression? That's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
No, it was horrible. It was horrible.
I liked it.
But I loved his energy. I'm ready to put him on a plane.
I know.
Go down to Boston, Kevin. Go.
Talk to Auston.
Is that where you want to start, JB?
Buddy, there's nowhere else to start.
Oh, my goodness. It wasn't even me.
Wow. It doesn't matter who you talk to. It's what you're talking about.
All right. Well, listen, wherever you're watching and listening, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. That's where you can find us. And when you can't catch us live, download us. It's just as good. I promise you.
Yeah. And if you're listening during this hour, I just want everyone to know, and I go forward with a little bit of, trepidation here.
Good word.
Tomorrow, we will be on from 11 to 12 a.m. to
Barks and Blair and Barker are bumping us off again.
11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because
they are baseball.
The Toronto Blue Jays are playing a getaway day against the Kansas City Royals. So if you're listening right now,
the post, what do you call them? Postmortem.
Yeah.
Will only be an hour for us tomorrow.
Listen,
no, we'll have the.
We'll have a few weeks,
month
boys.
and a half.
We'll have a few weeks. But yeah, tomorrow we're 11 to 12.
Thanks for letting us know.
No problem.
Thanks for letting me know.
I would remind us tomorrow.
I would have showed up at 1 or 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Let's go get your tea time ready for the afternoon, and away we go.
Okay, so what is
Maybe with
the latest with this lineup? And just note, we will have Luke Fox, Sportsnet writer, Sportsnet.ca. He's down there. He's going to tell us exactly what he saw, what he's hearing going into the game tonight. We'll get our Matthews update for him, but we got a few minutes here to dissect it ourselves. And then at the top of the hour, we're going to welcome in Steve Valiquette, who does analysis for the New York Rangers on MSG, but is also one of our top analytical guys when it comes especially to goalies. So we will have a full breakdown of Samsonov to Joseph Wall, who we expect to play tonight. You're not going to want to miss Valley.
Yeah. Stick around.
Maybe ask him what the hell happened to Connor Hellebuck. Lots of stuff to get into.
Lots to discuss.
Tons. Okay, so you want to start with a Sheldon Keefe update on Matthews, and then we go to you first, JB?
Sure, I'll go first. Well, let's let Sheldon do both of his updates. Sam, is that a reasonable place to start?
Let's play the first update. Update number 1.
Obviously, he was on the ice today. They're here this morning, so he's working through things to try to make himself available to play. No determination at this time.
Number 2.
I just look at the last couple of games, the way that he's given us everything that he's got. So, this time of year, the players are going to do all that they can to get out there, and then the medical team is going to do all that they can to make sure the players are available while also making sure that they're taken care of. So that's what we're working through.
And there's a further question. He was asked if there's something else, and he said, "I've talked about this enough already." So,
well, that's an important detail.
Yeah.
Chris Johnson wrote an article, and one of his comments in there was he's also.
But what was the main point of that article? Before you get into that,
well, that he's unlikely to play Game 5 for the Maple Leafs is the title. But he says battling an illness and nursing an undisclosed injury. Which is a new twist. Sheldon, at the top of that first clip, did he say, "I saw he was out there"? Are they allergic to talking? To just going to talk to the guy? Anyway.
Yeah, you're not allowed to.
So he's good enough to play last game. He's good enough for
Part of it.
an hour and a half of it, but he's not good enough to finish the last 40 minutes.
20.
I'm talking about actual time.
Okay.
Okay, 40 minutes.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Okay, sitting on the bench for me is part of the 40 minutes that you're with your team, but cannot finish that game. Okay, last 40 minutes of
Presume
actual
throwing
time.
Up, he's whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yet, we're going to put him on a plane, right? We're going to have him in the hotel room, eat. We're going to wake up him in the morning. We're going to take him to the rink. We're going to have him put his equipment on, right? And he's going to go on the ice for 8 minutes. And some sort of decision came at 8 minutes.
I think
Like-
I think the obvious one here that we're all. I think he said no. Yeah, I mean, if we're reading through the tea leaves here, he was on the ice for 8 minutes and he said
exactly. Read the tea leaves. What did you learn? What did you go through all of that effort to conclude in 8 minutes?
Well, something, it's got to be, the 8-minute part is like, it's got to be injury then. Because if you don't get skating and get whatever, if you're trying to deal with something respiratory or whatever, you can't really know. I'll say this now. So I have stuck up for the process of we don't know. They don't have to tell us. They're doing their best to get him ready. If it's an illness, if it's just an illness and he's had 3 days to get ready.
Where did injury come from?
I don't know. This is the first I've seen of it is in this Johnston
From
article.
Chris Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never seen it
Fair
before.
enough. You know what? He's an insider.
Yeah, he
He
knows.
thinks he may have something there.
Yeah.
But up until now, they can't throw out illness enough, right? It's illness.
Yeah.
Illness is not injury.
Correct. I was working my way to saying something, which is this. He better play.
He's not playing.
If he's just sick, though, and he's had 3 days, 72 hours from the last game, and he's sick, you got to play. You have to play.
I completely agree.
You can't not play.
This whole thing stinks to me, okay? Stinks. This whole storyline, all of it. So again, just to understand, Chris Johnson, reputable guy.
Of course.
Okay, for sure. We've worked with him. Okay. But someone is telling him that there's also an injury. So it's either coming from somewhere close, the organization, the Matthews camp, but he's getting it from somewhere. Someone wants it out there. He doesn't make it up on his own.
According
Someone
to
is telling him.
sources with a
Of
plural,
course.
plural S.
Yes. So what is this now? That illness isn't good enough anymore.
It's not good enough.
It's not good enough anymore. So let's get it out there that he's also hurt so we can completely exonerate him. He's not soft. He's not a quitter. Let's throw in an injury too.
Unless he's hurt.
I mean,
Then why don't you be like everybody else? He's unavailable, right? Upper body injury day to day.
Yeah.
Is that hard?
Everybody
else does it.
I agree that the fact that this didn't come out till today.
Yes. Games. Just playing games.
That it didn't.
Not a doctor.
there's a whiff of something.
Yes.
It stinks
It does.
that I'm hearing now injury.
Yeah, it does feel a little bit like we don't want him to take the abuse for missing games due to illness. I also, Sheldon said
they
something about the doctors. Here you go. It's always the doctor's call, Keith said. The doctors always make the call for the players in their best interest. They don't put anybody in harm's way.
That's a different world than I lived in.
I agree with you.
What is that?
Dr. Nick.
Oh. We're having a serious conversation here about the give it a rest.
I agree, that it is a different environment. But to me, if you're Auston Matthews, you need to be able to overrule the doctor and say, thank you for your 2 cents.
Sheldon cannot throw out the doctor, right? Don't come to me. I'm just the coach.
Well,
This is the doctor speaking now.
Yeah.
Well, hey, can we get a name with that doctor?
I can give
Can
it to
we-
you, but I won't.
Can we just, I don't know, maybe step up to the microphone and say, hey, he's just a coach. He's just a general manager, and he's just the president. But I'm the doctor, okay? And I'm saying he can't play. Wait, where is he?
Well, I
Where is
don't
he?
think he has to be present. We're not owed that. But if he is just sick, it sucks.
If you're going to throw him out that much to make him a focal of the story, I'm sorry. One of the greatest goal scorers in this modern history disappears, and you throw it on the doctor. This is the whole thing, what I say, it stinks. It's not comparable to anything we've ever seen in the past. I've played this game for a long time. I've covered the game for a long time. I've never seen anything more bizarre in my life than one of the best goal scorers that we've seen just poof, gone.
But this is a strict matter of perception. For you, from where you're sitting, you don't have answers and don't like it.
Yeah.
But
and then there's everybody else doesn't have answers and wants answers.
I know, but this is the same argument we've been having for 3 days.
It's not an argument. It's just, it doesn't fly. It doesn't sell.
You're going to have your answer in 5.5 hours.
It's too late. They're
late for
out.
what?
They're gone. They're out.
They're going to be out and gone whether you know he has tuberculosis or not, or whatever he has.
But it'll also make you feel like...
You'd understand.
No, not you understand. That, like, how am I going to feel moving forward? How about that, JB?
Well, and that's what we're going to know later.
Right?
If
how do I feel about this? Okay? Like... if I'm a season ticket holder right now and I'm paying what I'm paying, and then the last game you hear tickets went for $1,000. You know why they went for $1,000? Because they're seeing one of the best goal scorers in modern day history.
But it could be the Kulin and Yarovsky team, and he'll still be $1,000 ticket.
And he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
it's a little upsetting.
Whatever. I don't, the ticket sales, whatever we're talking about now, is way off track from the fact that they don't know what's an explanation.
It's not.
But
it's not, because it's different.
They're telling us illness.
Now they went to injury.
If he's just ill, I'm not okay with that. And that's Neanderthal hockey talk for me.
We're not, nobody's okay with it.
Right.
Nobody's okay with it.
Right. But there's a chance that when they tell us what it is, maybe my perception changes on that. But I myself have played with pneumonia. I have played extremely sick. I shouldn't have played probably for the good of my health, but I played.
That story's out there from the moment the game was invented. Everybody's played sick. Everybody's thrown up.
Which is why we can sit here as former players and say,
gone through it.
If you're just sick, you got to play. Just put on the sweater. You got to be out there. So
maybe it is something else. I don't know. I've just talked.
And that's the thing is, it'd be embarrassing to come in, after the game. They're like, God, we're like, geez, like it could be something very serious.
Like,
I don't know.
People said that. I mentioned it on Leafs Talk after the game that maybe the Sportsnet showed him maybe tweaking but just mention that lower body, lower body injury.
For sure, if it's
not
injury,
playing
it should have
tonight.
come up by now.
Not
day of.
How many times did they go back to the well over the last 3 days of him being like, it's just not getting better. He's just not feeling better. He's just this weird illness that's a mystery illness, and no one's ever heard of this thing.
Just hear the Unsolved Mysteries music playing in the background.
There's just
X-Files.
This whole first round series, all the organization has done is let us come on the radio and speculate. That's all it's been, is speculating what's wrong with guys, speculating what's wrong with them. And it's all we're supposed to do. All my friends or everyone I talk to about the Leafs is like, well, what's wrong with them?
I'm the Leafs, Sam.
People are like,
that's an us problem, not a them problem.
Yeah, I know. But I just, think you'll stop.
I think it's a little bit of ego that we think they should have to tell us because we're whatever, we're Leafs fans or whatever we are.
You think it's okay that people go they push gambling and they bet on thinking he's going to be there and he's not there, and you have no explanation?
People are free to make their decisions if they think he's going to play or not.
Tell me what would happen in the NFL if Mahomes now is going into a conference final and just doesn't show up.
Let me stop you. They don't know if Matthews can play tonight. They don't know. Sheldon Keefe probably doesn't know. He might know soon. He's going to have an afternoon nap, and they're going to say, can you go? I don't think they're sitting there with an answer and not telling us.
I just think that it's unlike anything we've seen before.
It's very weird.
It is. It's
extremely weird.
It's really weird.
So is the Willie thing.
If it just kind of fell into that same pattern that we've seen over the years. Listen, a guy limps off or whatever, and now it's like you want to search for the answer. Listen, no, that's not the way it works. This one, there's no saying this is how it works because we've never seen it before.
It's very weird.
Yeah. So, game
Start
5
with the rest of the hockey, yeah.
Okay, that's it. We're just beating a.
But I think.
Well, it's the conversation everyone's having. We have to have
it's
it.
a horse. It's a dead horse that has to be.
Give it one last thumb to the old 600.
Yeah, like, you have to. I mean, come on.
All right.
Where do you want to start?
I just really hope he's. Yeah, it's his. Think about what's on the line tonight. He's got to
Set
be.
the stage.
No, just he has to be. You have to give the benefit of the doubt that he is really not well or really injured for him to miss a game where potentially his head coach, well, not potentially, head coach's job is on the line. You know, teammates may be gone, upstairs, downstairs, back room, everywhere. There is so much on the line tonight. And for him to not play, he must be something wrong.
It'll be
Very wrong.
The most shocking thing of all will be they come out and go, he's had a bad flu. He's just really not great. I'll be like, I'm sorry, what?
They can't do that.
Yeah.
And they can't do that. And part of to Kyper's point, they're starting the narrative where it's like, it's not just him being like, I don't know. Anyways, let's talk about the hockey.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
any chance they win tonight, fellas? What do you got? Yay. Paint me a Leafs picture that things are good.
Okay, so what does it look like without Matthews?
So you got Marner playing with Domi. Domi back in the middle.
They seem to have some good energy
Yeah.
in the third period. They got a
They've
big
had
goal.
chemistry
They
in
had
the
some good.
past.
They had some good momentum. Like again, I know we're gonna beat it up again. Like, but the bad penalties and they had momentum, and the score was 3-1. Last time I checked, the Vancouver Canucks were down 3-1. Like that score was not. The game wasn't buried
No, the
when
worst part about
Marner
this
scored,
Boston's
and then Nylander lassoes.
That was such a stupid penalty.
Who do you lasso?
Was it DeBrusque?
There's not it doesn't matter. He lassoed someone.
And just killed it.
Yeah.
Killed the momentum.
Edmonton had 2 good chances to make it a 3-2 game in that third
He did,
period.
though. One almost went 5-hole.
Yeah. So, no, you're right.
So, can that line find some of that magic that they had in the third period?
Yes. Yes is the answer. I mean, they absolutely can win a hockey game here. And you obviously start with one. Joe Woll came in last year against the Florida Panthers and was a .941 save percentage. He got them their only win in his first game back in the lineup. And I'm glad that he got in last game to play a period of hockey, feel the puck, feel the energy and the pace and all that a little bit. So, sure, he goes in and plays well. Marner looked like he had some jump in the third period of those guys. They get a couple. Maybe the power play scores a goal. It's not past impossible, them getting a win.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe. Derek, clip 4 on Joseph Woll staying ready.
Just that he's stayed with his regular routines, and he's a very regimented guy. He's very detailed in how he handles himself off the ice, takes care of himself, maximizes his practice reps. I think he's been outstanding in our practices that we've had here since, preparing for the playoffs and coming through. I think he's really looked at those as his games. And to me has been really, really good there. So, he's ready for an opportunity to come in.
What did he say? He's looked at it as his games?
Yeah.
His practice?
Yeah.
He's looked at it as his game. That's stupid. That's a dumb thing to say. I think I'm not overly worried about Joseph Woll of all things tonight.
I think he's capable of having a big game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a good chance of it happening.
Oh, when's the last time he lost in Boston?
Just based on
3 weeks ago.
The lack of prep coming into this. This is just, in all honesty, it's a hope or pass. You're not really looking, but you're just hoping for the best. That's all it is.
Can he shoot one in the net? I mean,
that?
he can be as good as he wants, but the Leafs aren't going to get between the hash marks. They're not going to have much of a chance to win the game. So he can be great. And like I said to you guys yesterday, I felt very dumb after watching him play in the third period and be like, oh, yeah, he's better.
Yeah.
Where we had all these conversations and convinced ourselves Samsonov was the guy. But anyways, he could be fine.
You know what's hard for the Leafs is that when you when you've given belief to the other team, like the Boston Bruins probably don't feel like they need to take a ton of chances, right? Like they just kind of can comfortably know that if they stay within their system, keep everyone to the outside, it'll come for them, that they'll get some looks. I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest you might see a low-scoring game tonight. I don't think Boston's going to be pushing things offensively, and they're very good defensively.
But the Leafs will push.
Well, they have to, Kip. They got to open it up.
Exactly. And to your point, then Boston doesn't need to. They just wait for the Leafs to make their mistakes. They're bad. I don't know what it was. 2 minutes in, 3 minutes in, they had a 140-foot 2-on-1 last game.
When teams have blown 3-1 leads, you look at, so the Leafs did it to Montreal, 3 years ago. Montreal won Game 5 and Game 6 in overtime. Those are both overtime wins. When Florida came back on Boston last year, 2 of their 3 wins were overtime wins. I think Game 5 and Game 7. They're coming back from 3-1 isn't necessarily you become the better team and just dominate the other team. It's you got to eke a couple out. These are close games as is.
Do
you want to go to keep on blowing 3-1 leads first?
Let's
Reeves?
Let's do Ryan Reeves.
Do you have Ryan Reeves?
I do have Ryan Reeves.
Okay.
Ryan Reeves on potentially coming back.
Well, I mean, you got to get excited for these ones. You got to, I think this group knows that there's always, until the series is over, it's not over. This team gave up a lead last year, an exact same, 3-1 lead last year. So, sports is a crazy thing. I think we've all seen some crazy comebacks in our lives, and I've been part of a few. So, I think we're just excited to start it up today.
Oh, he's got the Bruins right where he wants them.
Could you just get the puck out?
I'm not sure I would have dug up the they blew up a 3-1 lead last year. I would have probably not touched that as a guy looking at being out in 5 games, but I did like his comments that sports crazy and crazy things happen, and I'm not far off on his thinking that it's less of the belief in the Toronto Maple Leafs than it is in sport, right? Just in sport general.
What a glowing hope.
There's randomness in this, guys. Hang on to the randomness and go for a ride.
Just history of sports. We'll say, you're not wrong, Ryan, but it has less to do with your team right now.
Yeah.
I will say that I am incredibly, I've talked about it a million times. A lot of people talking to me with the Leafs, and, I'm seeing it on Twitter. I'm seeing it from my friends. I'm seeing it from certain people. They're like, my Leafs, you got to have the passion. Like, I talked about how I woke up yesterday feeling relieved. I woke up feeling envious of that.
Yeah.
Like, how, after all of these years, after everything you've seen, do you dig back into the well? The last feeling I have is hope right now. There is no hope for me.
Have you read any articles about people who get scammed?
Yes.
They can't believe that they're the ones silly enough to get caught up, and they just keep giving money to the scammer because they're like, well, I don't know, this time it'll be different.
So what you're saying is the Leafs are like a Russian prince here? Like, what's happening?
I'm saying it's a total mindset where you're like, no, I'm not wrong. This will come around eventually. I'm not the one to get fooled.
I just can't believe there's still people that are like, my Leafs will get it. I'm like, oh my God. How do you have this feeling?
Consensus that I hear from people about the Leafs are that there hasn't been enough pain extracted from this series so that they'll win a couple and then pull the rug out when you get your hopes back up for Game 7. So there are true Leafs understanders out there who know how bad it can get.
Yeah, I mean, it would be.
I got to think, though, like the blown 3-1 lead to the Florida Panthers last year is so fresh for them right now.
Which sucks, because that's going to make them buckle down.
That's sitting there going, we've been down this path before where we let a team off the hook in a Game 5.
Yeah.
And, is Brad Marchand right now in a position where, he's not in every second of that morning skate, or by the time he gets to the rink this afternoon, that isn't on the top of his mind right now, telling his teammates.
I think there's also a big difference between this version of the Toronto Maple Leafs and last year's Florida Panthers. I would hazard a difference between them in terms of gumption. Is that fair to say? I feel like they're very different teams.
Yeah.
Very different teams.
They're obviously very different teams.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were once upon a time a few weeks ago, heading towards that side of the Florida. Like it wasn't that long, guys. We were talking about this team having some gumption and some grit and some in your face and McCabe and Bertuzzi and Domi and it wasn't a million years ago.
When Willie's playing well and Matthews is healthy and the whole thing, what?
I'm loving it. You guys you're helping me. I like it. Keep going.
No, what's your point?
No,
what's funny?
That you guys are doing a masterful job of giving people hope. And the one guy who should be hopeful and the one guy that should be an idiot is like
saying they were good a month ago is not giving anyone hope. That has nothing to do with Matthews not present and Willie looking like him.
Yes.
A month ago, they were the best team in the NHL for 34 hockey games.
I know, but then the playoffs started.
Right.
And they returned to their true
His point isn't
form.
about right now. His point is that they were good a month ago.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was a month ago.
You know, there has to be someone in that Leaf dressing room going, like, we don't even have to win this series.
Yeah.
But we can't die on the vine tonight.
Right.
Right? Like
we can't go out with a whimper.
There is a difference between losing tonight and losing Game 7 for us even walking around town this summer.
Yeah.
No?
No, but you know what? You're
a little
right.
bit.
You're
a
right.
little
Yes,
bit.
100%.
Sammy,
That's
just a
the
little
pride.
bit. If they came in and just showed some juice tonight or Game 6 and lost in Game 7, there has to be a little of gained respect, just a tad. No, zero.
No difference.
Go big or go home.
Literally no difference for me.
Were they
For me,
really
it is.
supposed to beat the Boston Bruins here definitively?
Didn't both you guys pick them?
We
I
did
picked
pick
them in
not
7.
definitive.
I had it as a pick 'em series,
Yeah.
and I had them in 7. And maybe a little wishful thinking for the Real Kyper and Bourne show.
I would say most people did not pick them. On the inside of that sweater, it says honor, pride, courage, we said as we hung that up there.
yeah.
Pride being one of them.
It was a pick 'em series for me.
For sure. I don't
Right?
think many people dispute that out there.
Like we had
Right.
better goaltending out of Boston. As long as Sammy could hold them in. We had Boston better with McAvoy and Lindholm, but we had the Leafs deeper up front with the offense.
And to me, Kip,
And
it
the
is
difference maker was your 69 goal scorer who
one of the saddest. One of the saddest parts of the failures of the Leafs in the past has been the big moments, the way they've shown up, right? Game 7, Montreal wins those 2 OT games. Game 7, they just awful. They rolled over. I think they lost 4-0.
No, it wasn't that bad. I can't remember what it was.
It wasn't good, whatever it was.
They scored.
Game 7 against Boston a couple years ago, they lost 5-1. Like, they have just not shown up in these all-or-nothing games. If we see that again tonight, I think everything that people have said about the Leafs outside of this show, that can't win with this group, know this, know that, they don't have what it takes, all the different things, you can't argue with anything. You just have to blow it up.
They're right. They're right.
So to me, if it's a push and a game and some, like a couple of wins, that to me is a totally different story.
But losing in 7 games is to the Boston Bruins for the 4th straight
Not a
playoff
moral
series.
victory, but it's not embarrassing the
but
same way it would be.
It would show some character.
Sure. Yeah, okay, that's fair. I'll give you that. 100%. I'll give you that.
Okay,
They'll
thanks.
have a bit of great.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I know you don't care about it. I don't care about it either.
No,
but
it
it
doesn't
is
make any
different.
We're
difference.
But it is
scraping the
different.
bottom of the barrel right now.
And there's nothing there in the bottom of the barrel for me. Like in my mind, and I think a lot of Leaf fans' minds, 5, 6, 7 doesn't matter. Boom.
I think when making character assessments, if you're going to trade someone based on moral judgments, I think you could take that context because it mattered to you that they lost in 5 against Florida and not 7.
Yeah, it did, I guess.
I don't know. It seems like part of the deal to me. Anyway, that's a long way off. That's 2 Leaf wins away.
But it would be kind of Leaf-like to win tonight. Right?
Oh, to
I
return
have
home
money
and,
on it.
yes,
Yeah.
return home and break the hearts of all their
No
fans.
Matthews on the
But it would
road. Everyone
be-
count them out. Very Leaf-like to win tonight.
Like,
and
what are
then
they-
just
like, what's the line on that game tonight? They gotta be huge dogs.
you would think so.
So
We'll find out in game time.
we will find that out.
Okay, let's take a quick break, and we come back. We're going to the rink. Luke Fox, writer for Sportsnet.ca, is in the building. He'll give us the vibe on Matthews and the Leafs' chances to extend. That more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee teeing up Game 5 between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins. Let's bring in head writer, Sportsnet.ca, Luke Fox. Luke, how are you, pal?
I'm doing okay.
All right,
How
give
are
it,
you guys
give
doing?
it, give it to us straight here. Like, what the heck happened this morning? Was it 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes of Auston Matthews? What did you see this morning?
Okay. Well, it was definitely less than 10. I'd ballpark it around 5. I didn't have a stopwatch or anything, but it was very light work. So he played catch a little bit with Manny Malhotra. He stood in front of the net, tipped a few pucks that Malhotra shot. And then he, after I'd say about 5 minutes, he got his water bottle and skated off well before the rest of the guys really got going. There was no exertion of any kind. It's not like he was doing cuts in the corner or really pushing himself by any means. He seemed to be away from the pack. So you read into that what you want. It was an optional skate. He normally, if he's playing, he does not skate on game mornings. He takes the option. Now, the game he did play, he did do that to test it out. So was he testing it out and saying, okay, that's good enough? Or was he thinking, even just this little bit of light work is too much for me and I need to get off the ice? That's up for interpretation. Afterwards, I asked Sheldon, because these rumors started last night that we started hearing that this was something beyond just an illness. And that would make a lot of sense. What kind of illness keeps a guy down for 8 days? Especially when the first thing I heard was food poisoning. It raises a lot of curiosity. So there was a suggestion that there's something more there. And I asked Sheldon, is it an illness or is there something beyond that? And basically he refused to answer. And a non-answer I'm interpreting as there's got to be something more there. The latest I'm hearing is it's probably a 90% chance he doesn't play. But hey, we've all seen hockey players push through things, so all eyes will be on warm-up.
Do you want to stay on the injury front?
Yeah. I'm embarrassed to ask this question, but did he shoot pucks?
He did. It wasn't rip. I didn't see him rip any pucks. No.
Okay.
I'm
okay, wrist? Is he?
Well,
I'm trying to run through the list here.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, no. I want
to. We could speculate.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh yeah, that's what we're doing.
No, we are.
Yeah,
that's what we do. That's what we do.
You're not on a news show.
No, I know, but I don't know if watching him do a very little sliver of light work in the morning is going to tell you what kind of injury.
Was there? Did he exert himself in any way? Did he skate hard? Did he turn anything up around 60, 70%? Because I got a text during the break that suggested a high ankle sprain.
Oh my goodness. And I heard something totally different. So who knows?
You did. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're not reporting, we're speculating.
There was
what?
There was no exertion. It wasn't he didn't do any hard cuts or hard skating.
All right.
And now, is that just people just floating stuff out? I mean,
buddy, I don't know.
I got it from somebody that is around the game and knows people.
Well,
but I'm not. Don't throw this out
there. Do not run with that.
But it's just, to me, Luke, it's quite interesting that they push the narrative illness, and now there's talks and rumblings of an injury. Isn't it strange for you?
100%. The whole thing's weird. And it started with Willie. The way they've handled these mystery ailments is really confusing. And I think it's really kind of distracted from what's going on in the series on the ice. Mm-hmm. And I think it's distracted the fan base. I play shinny. I take my son to his hockey games, and it's all anyone's talking about. Is he playing? First it was Willie. Is he playing? Now it's Auston. Is he playing? And it's become a distraction from the fact they're getting sorely outplayed in basically every facet of this series.
Well, and let's talk a little bit more about the tone around the Leafs. Saturday night was perhaps the most disheartening Leafs loss of the Marner Matthews era. The most. I understand losing game sevens to teams, including Montreal, was heartbreaking. That was it's 2-1 in the series. It just really felt like a series they would have a chance to win, and there was nothing. It was just the worst I've seen that team look in a long time. Is the mood down? Outside of the team, it feels like the series is already over. Anyone you talk to, does it feel like that around the Leafs now?
Yeah, it was downbeat.
Oh.
And I've been around teams that have been down in series, and you feel like, oh, maybe they have something left. And hey, they haven't played the games yet.
Yeah.
Ryan Reeves was saying today, like, sports are a crazy thing. We've all seen crazy comebacks. So, there is a chance. But based on the mood, I don't like it. There's the energy's low,
Yeah.
the spirit's low, the voices are quiet. Sheldon, seems like he's it's almost like he's resigned to how this thing is going to end.
Wow.
There seems to be little fight in the dog, and maybe there is behind closed doors in their meetings, and they're just want to keep things low key when the reporter's around. But I've been around a lot of playoff teams when they're practicing, and even when they're down, some of them there's noise. Remember when Ryan Reeves was brought in because this was a quiet team? This is a quiet team right now, and that would concern me.
We're talking to Luke Fox, Leaf and NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. What do you get out of Mitch Marner? You look at the last few days, and he's been the number one whipping boy here. From the cover of the Toronto Sun of the invisible face right down to every rant you hear on social media. How do you find his demeanor as late as today? I look at Mitch Marner right now, and I think, like, this is a beaten guy, right? Like, he's got everything to gain and nothing to lose tonight. I think if he goes in with an attitude like that, maybe there's a chance to make this thing close tonight with him.
Yeah, he needs to have a huge game, especially if Auston is either out or at something less than 100%, which is what he is. Mitch Marner needs to be a star. Joseph Woll needs to be a star. That's pretty much it. I do feel like listening to the public discourse, it's gone a little bit too heavy on Mitch. The blame should be shared a little bit. And I would include Brendan Shanahan in that, in the whole plan, the whole way that the group is constructed. I think with Tavares, he hasn't been a star at all 5-on-5, but I think people are just kind of resigned that his best days are behind him, whereas Mitch is in his prime. Auston gave you one good game, and he's battling some sort of ailment or multiple ailments. Nylander wasn't available, so he's kind of avoided some of the criticism because he just hasn't played. So Mitch has borne the brunt of it. But I agree with the people that say, hey, you make 11 sheets, you can't just be fine defensively, score a goal in a game that was essentially all over. You need to have your fingerprints all over a playoff game in this series. And we're running out of time for him to do that. So, and I think the other thing is the contract situation. He needs a new contract, not next year, but the following one. So I think that is garnering a lot of attention because people are fed up with the construction of this team. So who has to move? Well, the other two guys just got paid in Nylander and Tavares. So that's probably another reason why a lot of focus is on Mitch. As for his demeanor, we haven't seen him since he did post game after the last game. He wasn't available after practice, and he was nowhere to be seen this morning. So he's laying low, and hopefully he just lets his play on the ice do all the talking for him tonight.
Help us set the stage a little bit about the stakes for tonight. You had mentioned Brendan Shanahan. That same newspaper had a cover mentioning Shanahan today in a negative light. Sheldon Keefe seems like a guy whose name's of interest. I'm concerned about, the Shanahan thing personally, because the Leafs have been a very good and well-run organization for years now, and I think you can take that for granted, and I think fans probably do. What are your thoughts? How much is on the table in terms of the high-powered jobs with the Leafs?
Yeah, I think a lot should be on the table. I would love to know what Keith Pelly's thinking. If he's thinking, hey, I want to take a year to really see how this thing works behind the scenes before I make any big decisions, or if he hears what the fan base is telling him, what the players are telling him so far by their play, and thinking, I need to make drastic changes. I think everyone knows, even though Sheldon Keefe hasn't coached a game under his new deal, that if they lose this series, it's hard to envision a world where he's back. But I think the changes should go deeper, whether that's looking at the core players And those guys showing up to camp again and looking around the dressing room with the same faces, they've lost what could be, 8 of 9 playoff series together. Like, at some point, I know you want to bet on talent, but at some point, I think there's enough evidence mounting here that some drastic changes need to be made. And I think it really does start at the top with Pelly.
It is really incredible what potentially tonight could mean for so many people and historically for this franchise.
I agree with you, Nick. Like, this is huge. And it goes far beyond, usually when we're in this situation, we're talking about like the UFAs, like, oh, what does this mean for Max Domi or Bertuzzi or Samsonov? No. This goes way higher, way higher. It's funny, like so many cultures in sports keep saying this is results-oriented business. Results. We need results. And that's not really been Shanahan's message. His message has been, we believe in these guys. We're going to keep rolling it back. I think about when Dubas left, and the first reports we heard were Shanahan letting all the players know, hey, don't worry. You guys are safe. You guys are safe. We're just changing the GM, but you guys are good. Mm. And I wrote about the culture this week, and I've been thinking about that, about how just because you lose doesn't mean your job's in jeopardy. You're comfortable. The coach can't get it done in the playoffs. That's okay. We'll give him an extension. And these things just keep mounting. And I think it's gotten to the point where people want to see change.
For sure. I think you have a tough time selling it to the fans another time, and I think that is a pretty important message. Heading into tonight, then the last thing to touch on, just the decor. Morgan Riley maybe not been his best version. It looks like Timothy Liljegren's going to go back in. Go ahead. You're going to be meaner than that?
No. Morgan Riley, just not his best, but he's been brutal like the rest of them.
Okay.
Well, so many, this is supposed to be an offensive team, but so little of their offense comes from the back end. You're watching the Colorado series, and you see Cale Makar, you're watching what the Nashville Predators did, and you see Roman Josi, and Morgan Riley's not quite at their level, but very little is being generated with clean breakouts that they come flying through the neutral zone. Like, the offense can start from the defense, and they got a lot of guys that are off the glass and out. So that puts a lot of pressure on Morgan Riley to drive it. And I would, I thought he's been fabulous in playoffs past. In that Tampa series, he might have been their MVP. He hasn't like we're talking about Mitch. Morgan Riley hasn't had a signature game either, and he's paid to do so. There's pressure on him for sure. But as for the lineup, Liljegren is 100% back in. Brody's back out.
Wow. And, we were questioning that blue line as is with a good Brody. We were questioning this blue line, but no one saw the drop off with Brody. Not, to be at this point where you had him out, you tried him back in, now he's back out in the most critical time of the year.
For him to ever play another game as a Leaf would be shocking.
I don't know if, maybe in his career, I don't know. But it's hard to imagine this big of a drop off for this guy this season.
Yeah, and it just compare it to last year, he was like the model of consistency. He's lost confidence. It's really sad to see because he's the second highest paid guy next to Riley. Logged so many minutes on the penalty kill, and the penalty kill's been really hurting them all season long, and especially in this series. And we've reached a point where the coaching staff doesn't even trust him enough to play him when that's supposed to be one of his specialties, and that's one of the team's weaknesses. I feel for the guy. I mean, it's got to be tough. The sport you love, that you're in a contract year, you're trying to make a difference, and he just doesn't have it. And I think it snowballed him with lost confidence, get caught on the ice for some bad goals against, and get scratched, get back in. You put internal pressure on yourself, like, hey, I need to do something in this game, or I might be scratched again. And then if you don't, it just kind of builds. And it is too bad. It is too bad because he was a really reliable Leaf for a long time there. Mm-hmm.
All right, Luke, enjoy yourself. And if there's one piece of advice I can give you from past experience, if the Leafs happen to go up 4-1, don't file your report with about 10 minutes to go.
Give me a break.
What? What? No.
Thanks
If
for the
Boston
tip.
goes up 4-1, don't file your report. How's that? Is that better?
That's okay. That's better.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Luke.
Luke.
Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Take care, guys.
Buddy, that's a crazy building for Leaf fans.
Yeah, you're just you're going down to the ground and grabbing that low hanging fruit.
I'm just saying.
Oh my!
I'm going back to Ryan Reeves's. Hey, it's sport. Crazy things can happen.
You know, I do want to go back to the point of our local New York Post with a title or a headline about Brendan Shanahan today, perhaps losing his job if they lose.
The Canna Plan, I think they called it.
Canashan, I think.
Canashan.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know,
it's very
Okay.
good.
I worry about that.
Hey, for creativity.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I worry about what it would look like under someone else, given, this has been a good run. Leafs hockey, 100-plus points for a lot of years. And, the plan was to rebuild, tear it down. You did it just like you said you were going to do it. I
but
know
this-
it hasn't yielded results. I know that.
You got to get out more than one round in
Yep.
10 years.
And I love the idea of trying to sell process over results. It's a results business.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And so he hasn't got results, and I understand
But
why he's
again,
in the
this
crosshairs.
is in the hands of a new CEO named Keith Pelly, and it's really to Luke's point is how quickly can you come in? What's he been on the job? A month? 6 weeks?
Yeah, but everyone knows what's going on with the Leafs, man.
There's no.
Everyone knows.
Like I said it yesterday, I'll say it again. If he's like, we're taking a long view
but
at
now
this, a
he's-
patient approach, I'm like, no, done. Out.
But he
Can't have it. You
do-
got to come in here
You do.
sweeping.
You do, but he's got only 6 weeks of being on the inside looking out. The rest of the time, he was no different than us on the outside looking in. And I'm not here to suggest that, he should fire Brendan or he shouldn't. But I'm saying that, to Luke's point of view, some guys, they don't like to come in and make those type of decisions that fast.
Yeah.
Because it all it does is put them on the clock that much faster too. Keith Pelly, Keith Pelly's fresh and new. He ain't going anywhere. He's not going anywhere next year or the year after. But you get into year 4, year 5, and the clock starts with your decision that you made a month into it.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys like to stretch it out a lot longer.
Well, I guess it depends what you're prioritizing. If it's, keeping your job, which most people, that's their sole purpose. Honestly,
We've seen it a lot.
truly, most people
How can I keep this job
that's
the longest?
Dirty secret about being a GM in the NHL. Most guys' goal
Job preservation.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, it's the cup. It's keeping the job, and then it's winning the cup.
I think,
That helps you keep it.
The only way that, Keith Pelly comes in and he's like, we're not going to keep, I got to get my blinders on. That scared me. We're not going to keep Shanahan. I mean, we're going to keep him around or whatever. But it's like, well, your little plan here, the 4 guys, we might be changing that, or you may not be around kind of thing. Right?
One thing I'll say about that
Or
is
trade.
that you're not making the decision based on what you're also been witnessing the last little while, that you can't win with the core 4. You're also basing it on the fact that the guy's contract's running out. And to Luke's point, he needs a new contract. And
Is that right?
You're not giving it to him.
After this season?
What's that?
His contract running out after this season?
Marner's.
Oh,
Marner's.
Marner.
And Brendan Shanahan needs a new contract soon, too.
Okay.
So those things come into play, too. Right? It's like, we're not going to go down that path anymore. So the core 4, it was running out. It was running out of time, too. So.
No. So nothing on the line tonight.
High stakes, high drama.
Oh,
All on the
wait.
backs of
Can't wait till it
16.
gets
Carry
started.
the team.
Tonight is
Okay.
going to be a fascinating hockey game,
It
boys.
is gonna
You know
tell us a
what?
lot.
The next hour is going to be fascinating. We got Steve Valiquette to join us to break down all the goaltenders, including Joseph Wall, Samsonov, Swayman, Hellebuck, Jones, and also, coaches. The carousel going around, and what's going on with Dubas and Mike Sullivan. Oh, yeah.
We got
yeah.
news and notes. Back to
News
our
and
roots,
notes.
baby.
More with Real
Everything's
Kipper and
great.
Bourne after these words. Welcome back into the Real Kipper and Bourne show, our national edition, as Justin Bourne shows off his new.
Bob Bourne rookie card. First in my life, Kenny Reed just dropped it off.
So, like,
Never had the
all
rookie.
these years, you weren't collecting cards of your dad at all?
I had cards, but for some reason I just didn't have a rookie card. I have stacks of them.
Were they in your bike spokes?
Lanky Pivot Man, acquired from Kansas City.
Lanky pivot.
Look at the things they wrote on cards back then. Lacks experience, but shows definite promise of future success.
Nice.
Lanky pivot man. That's what they called me in high school.
Nice. He's Justin Bourne. He's Sammy McKee. We're with you for the next hour on Real Kyper and Bourne National Edition. What?
That Bob Bourne reminded me of the Billy Smith interview that you tweeted out last night, which is one of the all-time greats. If you go to Bourne's Twitter,
he's with Dave Hodge, and
Dave Hodge.
the commissioner, the president, I guess, of the NHL back then was John Ziegler. And he just won the Conn Smythe, and they're presenting him the Conn Smythe, and he's just giving it to Gretzky for being a diver. And then he dove, and then it's like that old, two can play that game.
how do you like that one, Canada?
It's like he's cutting a wrestling promo. Like, you just won the cup. Usually everyone's like, just like to thank our opponent. What a great opponent. They called the greatest player in history a diver the moment he wins the Conn Smythe.
He's got a beer in his hand. He's probably got a dart somewhere,
just
not
wanted
too
to
far.
show Canada two can play at that game.
and-
Billy Smith ruled.
And said 4 other guys on his team should have won the Conn Smythe other than him. He's like,
And one
what
of them
a
was your
teammate.
dad.
Yeah, what
The
a
first
teammate.
one was on your dad. He was a good teammate.
He was. Yeah,
Anyways.
they loved him, battling Billy.
Well, wherever you are watching live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary, we're real happy you're along with us. And this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. In a few minutes, we're going to welcome in Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG, also CEO of Clear Sight Analytics. We'll get the lowdown on all the goalies around the league and who's making the cut and who hasn't up until this point.
Weird first round for me, Kip. Usually the first round of Stanley Cup playoffs is unbelievable, and it's tight, and it's overtimes. I mean, we got how many series are 3-1 or over right now? All of them but one.
Yeah, there's the four games on the schedule tonight, including the Leafs. 4 teams could move on tonight. There's Bruins can move on tonight, Carolina can move on tonight, Colorado move on tonight, and Vancouver can move on tonight.
And maybe 2 overtime games all playoffs?
Panthers and Lightning had one, and wasn't there another double OT one maybe?
Carolina, New York went to OT.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
We're going to get to Steve Valiquette, but we'll get into all of those series, including the Tampa Bay, Florida. That's one of those series where you thought this could easily be a Stanley Cup final.
Mm-hmm.
But boy, did Florida do a number on Tampa Bay to close out that series. Okay, let's welcome in Steve Valiquette. Busy guy, or maybe not so busy, with the New York Rangers sweeping Washington. How are you, pal?
Very good, boys. I just got off the ice. It never stops. I'm glad to be on with you guys.
All right, so we were just talking about, the reputation of the National Hockey League the last few years is the first round's the best, right? The closest, the tightest, players getting shot out of a cannon. What have you seen so far, including the Rangers sweeping Washington? I'm not sure that we're real surprised on that one, but certainly I think the Panthers dismantling the Lightning so quickly might be a surprise.
Yeah, to start with the Rangers, guys, the vibe is really high. The expectations are high. Everybody's trying to find the similarities between this year and 1994, Kyper. Yeah, look, there was a solar eclipse in 94. I think you guys have heard all this. A first-round sweep in 94, a President's Trophy in 94. Even this morning, I'm on the ice with some kids from Canterbury High School, and they're drawing the parallels because their last championship was in 94, and they won a championship this year. Everybody has a positive energy about the team, including O.J. Simpson.
I was going to say, you left out O.J. was in the news both years, too.
Yeah. So, and I'm telling you guys, it's a real thing. I mean, to compare it to what's going on in Toronto, where I can only imagine the temperature, is it on cremate today? For us, it is on cremate. Life. We haven't had a bad day in a week, and everybody believes this is the year. So the excitement's at an all-time high.
Okay, so what is it? Okay, because the feeling the last few years is you don't need a star goalie here, and just make the saves you're supposed to, and don't put so much money back there. But Sometimes it's worked for some teams, and some it certainly hasn't in this first round.
Yeah, you know what, Kipper? I was just looking at this before we got on because you and I had a conversation recently about bad goals and how much it just cripples a hockey club. How about this stat from this year so far in the first round? There have been 14 bad goals. We saw one last night, Dandidov from the corner off of the helmet of Thompson. So that's a bad goal. Vegas loses. Only 3 wins of the 14 games where we've had a bad goal at one side and the other goalie doesn't allow one. Talbot won a game, Thompson won a game, his game 1, and Georgiev had a win. But it's losses for everybody else. That's why when that Frederick goal goes in game 3, I'm like, oh, you're done. It's a killer. Even though it's the first goal of the game, unless the other guy evens it up with a bad one, you're not going to win in the playoffs. The margins are too slim.
Valley,
and you're up against, yeah.
Like, how do you judge a bad goal? Like, sometimes people can watch and go, that's not a bad goal, and then you go, it's a bad goal, and then there's the fans that may be caught in between. Maybe they're not educated enough. What are the criterias for you as a bad goal? Is it first the angle? Is it second positioning of the goalie? Where do you start?
If all the goalies in the NHL are stopping at Kyper and your goalie isn't, it's a bad goal. Imagine that there's 100 shots. This is a good example from a presentation I gave a few years ago to an NHL team. And they said, how would you rate this chance? It was a point shot, it was a deflection from the ice, and it went over the glove. And the coach said, we would call this a grade A. And I said, okay, I just want you to understand that I don't wake up in the morning and put my pants on and say, good goal, bad goal. That's not how we're doing this. Mm-hmm. But there have been 100 of those this year, and there have been 3 goals. That means everybody else is stopping it. And just because it looks like a good goal to you, if there's only 3 or 4 or 5 on every 100, it's a bad goal. And it's up to us as a company to track these events all the same way. They have rolling averages. The goal from Dandidov, that's an obvious bad goal. It's from the dead angle. You should be able to shoot that 100 times and score once from that distance. It was more of a corner distance. So it's really about just doing the same thing over and over again, cataloging these events the same way.
Valley, one thing I know about keeping people's attention on the radio is don't talk about teams like Carolina or the Islanders, but I don't care. Tell me about the goaltending on Long Island. This is fascinating to you. The Varlamov goes in with, a month ago of the season or 3 weeks. He gets hot. Sorokin's supposed to be the guy. He loses when he goes in. They go back to Varley. They win again. What's happening in the Islanders' crease?
Well, to start with, I love Varley. I played with him, actually. And I will also contend that he wears 40 because of me, because he was my backup at Yaroslavl in 2005. That's how far back we go. And I joke about that because he was 17 and you could already see how elite he was. But the story for Varley being able to play over Sorokin, I'm having a hard time with Sorokin, except when I do watch the goals, what I see is a goalie that's not tracking the pass. So what that means to us, I'm wearing a tracksuit. If I'm on the ice with a young kid, I would say to them, as soon as the puck gets across my zipper, my head is on the puck and I have to begin my movement. What Sorokin's doing, Borny, is he's just sitting in his stance and he's watching it go. And then he's getting there and he's late. And if you rewatch the goals for his last game before he got pulled, he was late on all 3 of them. And when you're late in this game in the playoffs, when you're facing the best shooters, you can't make up for that ground. Varley, he's played well. The one game they gave back when they were up by 3, he had a couple of bad goals in that game. That was on my list here for goalie performances that allowed bad goals that didn't win the game.
We're talking to Steve Valiquette, analyst for the New York Rangers on MSG and CEO of ClearSight Analytics. The Vezina favorite, Connor Hellebuyck. How do you explain this?
I spent a lot of time on him today, boy. He's faced 15 screens in the postseason. He's given up 6 goals. He's faced 9 east to west. This is actually, I don't know if you can, you can't see my screen anymore. 9 east to west. He's allowed 5 goals. So when you look at his overall game, you don't like it. However, do you remember when I was on with you guys a few weeks ago and I said the one thing about Winnipeg, I'm not sure about their defense. Mm-hmm. I didn't think they were big enough. Nobody's given up better quality scoring chances in the postseason than the Winnipeg Jets. they've been awful. They've been just awful. They're not even close. They're the 16th, but they're even like below 16th. If there was any chance I could put in a few more teams, they'd be in 20th.
Yeah.
Really been bad. They've been giving up a lot. They haven't made it easy on him. He hasn't been good, but he's actually performing below average, below league average, but they're giving up a ton.
Yeah, it's tough to win when you're doing that. But some teams have won in light of not playing awesome. The Vancouver Canucks have not had many shots. They actually, I believe, set the record for the fewest shots over the first 4 games of a playoff series, and they're up 3-1. They have wins from Demko and Shilovs and DeSmith. What are your thoughts of their chances now relying on the third guy? I doubt you've seen him play much, as you think he only has 10 NHL games.
Do you guys remember 2 years ago when the Rangers went 7 games and Louis Domingue confessed that he had spicy pork and broccoli before he...
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Right. So it went the distance, that series. And coincidentally, they went through Jari, then Casey DeSmith, who has a reputation for leaving.
Oh.
And sometimes guys have that. And now you're on your number 3. It didn't show up until game 6. Kreider, if you guys remember this shot, it was from the Trent Frederick spot. Yeah. The 625 shots and you only score 3 goals all regular season. That's how you define a bad goal. Well, he gave up that exact same shot. If you go back and watch the game 6 goal, and it was in overtime, and it was at his body, and he brought his blocker in, and it went off his blocker, it went over his head and in the net. So you don't know when it's going to happen, but the dam always breaks. There's such a difference between a number 1 and a number 3. And I can tell you that quite honestly, I was a number 3. You just met an expert.
The best number 3 of all time, as far as we're concerned.
There you go.
Valley, we saw 2 pretty darn good goalies in Florida. Vass and goalie Bob here. And I mean, for Bobrovsky now to come full circle from those first 3 or 4 years in Florida, where it was to the point where it's like, you're untradeable to this. I mean, it's one of the better, I think, NHL goaltending stories in like recent memory for me.
It is. It's funny because I know I've talked on this show about expectations and how it can really change things for goalies. In those first couple of years, man, he was wearing that contract with every single shot. He was fighting the puck. It was weird to me too, because Kyper, I shared with you how I look at the data. If I see that somebody's performing well below league average, I just go right to the video and I'm just figuring out why. Okay, what's the theme here? Well, Bobrovsky, before he signs the deal, he's one of the best goalies on breakaways. He's one of the best goalies east to west. And then all of a sudden, the following year, he's the worst. How can you explain that? And there was no decision-making problems. There was no depth problems or positioning issues or tracking. And it just seemed to me like he lost a little bit of the edge that he had, his intensity, his fight. Or it was too much and he wasn't able to stop the puck. I honestly know I've said this before, but it's hard to know exactly what's going on between the ears of the goalie, except for seeing the issues they have with early goals against in a game, or bad goals against in a game, or based on the score of the game, score tied up by 1, down by 1, who's allowing the most goals. And those, to me, are always psychological. You can at least have a pathway to an answer that way. But seeing somebody flip from that good to that bad, the extremes, saw it this year at the beginning of the year, too, with a number of goalies. And Philip Gustafsson comes to mind, the beginning of the season for Saros. We saw it a little bit for the first half of the season with a lot of guys, and this was a strange year in net.
Well, there's another Canadian team to get to that we'll get to, but while you're talking about that Florida-Tampa Bay series, just Vasilevsky, where do you have him in his career arc? He's had some work done now, right? He had hips done, was it? Or whatever the injury.
I think.
Yeah, he's hurt a little bit. Does he look like a different goalie this season to you after coming back?
All right, so hear me out on this. When you guys watch Vasi, and it's been well documented that he has issues from point shots with traffic, and if you look at his head, does it not look like this to you guys?
Yeah.
He's got it up. He's got it up. So because his head's so high, my hand right here just below my chin, I can't even see it. So you can imagine that he's got to just bring his head back down. He's got to degree his head back down so that he can see the scope of the ice better. And he won't come down to the ice like a ton of bricks and then spread his knees apart when there is a screen, a broken play, or a rebound, because he's having issue with all of that stuff around the net. And it's been in the postseason for the last 2 years. Early exits. Toronto, I think, had 6 or 7 point shots with broken plays and rebounds last year. And it's the same story again this year. And I think he's just got to change his posture. It would be a conversation where we're going to take your head, we're going to degree it down. That's going to help your posture come down. And now when you are looking over the screen, you'll have a better cone of vision and you will be able to get down to the ice better and you'll have a better seal.
It's looking like the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to ask Joseph Woll to save their season tonight in Boston. Just judging from our conversations, no real surprise on your part that Samsonov couldn't finish this series.
No, not at all. It's funny. I spent quite a bit of time on this because it's a fascinating story. And I think like the interesting thing about knowing your goaltenders, and during a season, it can happen where you can't properly identify them because even though they're on the same team, they can face a different array of quality chances. I've played on teams where you sometimes feel like you're at Christmas and you're saying, I feel like I've gotten every hard start. And this other guy that I'm playing with is getting every layup. And what I feel like with the way that Woll came back, you shouldn't go with him in those games against Boston and make an easier ride for Ilya Samsonov. And I can tell you right now, it's here in the data. If you want to look at the quality of chances faced for Samsonov versus Woll since they got back, it was 23rd. 23rd is Samsonov as far as the environment that he played in, the difficulty of the shots that he faced through the season. And it's 48th for Joseph Woll. He had a much more difficult season in net for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He had harder starts. So the conclusion that I came to, which I think is kind of fascinating, is we played better as a team in front of Samsonov, but the more consistent and better goalie is Joseph Woll. And that's where there was a bit of a conflict. And I think that if you're having a hard time reading the data that you do have on your goalies, it's hard for you to properly evaluate and measure the quality of the chances they're facing unless you're doing it the right way for the entire league so you have context. But you have to answer these questions. Who's had the tougher starts? Who's playing better? Who's more consistent? You know, one of our client teams asked me to build out a quality starts page. So I would look at this, and this was really indicative of not going with Samsonov at the beginning of the series. The positive game percentage, the games that he had a positive impact, positive performance, it was only 55% of the games that he played this year. Only Darcy Kemper was worse. So 18 out of his 40 starts this year were statistically considered bad. He had 11 blown games. He had 7 bad games. And conversely, Joseph Woll, he had a positive game percentage of 72%. 72% of the games he played, he had a positive impact in the game. He either played a great game, a quality game, or an average game. But he didn't have the bad games and the blown games like Samsonov had. And he had 3 stolen wins during the season to Samsonov's 1. Samsonov had 11 blown games, guys.
Yeah.
You can't go into the playoffs like that. That was, to me, negligence on the part of the decision makers on that one.
Where was this info 2 weeks ago?
Oh my gosh!
For us to get to the Toronto Maple Leafs, how have they not hired you?
I know. Hey man, I gotta tell you, I'm sorry, but I'm a pretty busy guy too. But
We really appreciate you coming on.
I can't do everybody's homework, boys.
I know, you're right. You're right. But I'm going to ask you to do one more homework on. I want to hear your thoughts on Frederik Andersen because a lot of Leaf fans.
Let's do Skinner though before we go.
Okay, yeah, we're going to get to Skinner too. But just Frederik Andersen, has he changed? Has he learned? Is he like Bobrovsky now turning a corner?
Is he rested? Was he ever rested as a Leaf? Did he ever go into the Leafs postseason rested? No. Guys, mismanagement of games played. That's where we're at right now in the NHL. It's been a very long time. I think we have one winner in the last 20 years that has played 60 or more games. Do you remember how much he was playing back in those days for the Leafs?
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Come on. I always hated that. Because, guys, it's easy to see, too, because, all right, let's not even talk about statistics at all, but let's just talk about eyeballs. If I can't see a goalie beating a pass, getting to a complete stop, and then being able to make a save and doing that over and over again over the course of a game, rather than getting wide and getting into the butterfly slide too soon because they're so wide and so committed to their stance because they're fatigued and they get wide early. Watch a goalie at the beginning of the season and see their feet, and there's tools, we use them at MSG, that you could measure the distance between Igor Shesterkin's inside left ankle to his right ankle at the beginning of the season when he is physically fit versus when you feel like he's burning out like he did in January this year. He was almost a foot wider in his stance. So when the puck is being passed, I talked about the puck coming across my zipper. It's so much more difficult for me to get across. And now I've basically emptied all the gas out of my foot before I can even get across explosively in one piece. And you can see goalies with your computer frame by frame showing up later and later and later. And when they get behind like that, it's a losing proposition. The goalie's entire game is predicated on the harder and smarter I work before the shot, the easier the shot's going to be. And I physically have to be able to do that. It's a big component of this thing. It's not just technique.
Wow. I mean, this is all great stuff. And last one before, I leave you alone anyway.
I'll leave you alone too.
It's just Stu Skinner. You know, we're in our national hour here in Canada. He's got he's faced 60 shots in the last 2 games and only given up 1 goal. Has it looked better? Is it?
Yeah, just one thing too. He lost game 2, and I loved his demeanor because he didn't get rattled at all for a guy who's supposed to be so inexperienced at this.
I agree with you, and I heard your comments on that, and I agree with you. Has not allowed a bad goal, so you can start there. He's been very solid. There's been a couple of games where LA just didn't create a whole lot, and it's not going to be that easy to get through Edmonton unless you get a lot. He's also, one thing I can say about Skinner, very good off the rush. He's got a good rush save percentage. So I think the next opponent, it's going to be a different series. Like for me, this first round series for a lot of these teams, for a lot of these goalies, it hasn't been a massive test. Not every series has been as quality as Dallas Vegas. We've seen quite a few sleepers here, guys, and there's been a little bit of a low event thing happening here. But I can tell you, as far as trends, because I'm following the goal trends as they happen, there have been 31 goals in the playoffs this year. This might surprise you. It's low east to west, below the hash marks, from one side of the ice to the other. That's been the goal that's gone in more than any other. And then it's broken plays from the point. We see those every night. And then it's layered screens from the point. So those have been the 3 highest events as far as goals for. And look, you see Samsonov, and I sent you guys some notes on that. He couldn't move east to west, and that really killed you. I think it was 6 goals in total. Let me see here. 6 goals on 11 east to west plays. He had a 45% chance to make a save. You know, that's never, you can't win. You can't win like that. Buddy,
what an effort today on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. It was like you just saw 50 shots in 60 minutes right now.
Hey, Kyper, do you think I'm coming on your show with a butter knife? Right?
A dagger, my friend. Thanks for doing this. Outstanding, Valley.
Thanks, Valley.
Oh, hey, wait. Before I go, I got one note because I heard Sammy talking about this. He was worried about the 2-on-1 conversion rate against the Leafs. Remember that show?
Yeah.
Maybe a week ago? All right. During the regular season, I think I know what Sammy saw. 20 times their opponent went across the ice east to west. The pass got through on the 2-on-1. 9 goals were scored. It was worse than the NHL.
Oh, cool.
But
That's
the
great.
15 goals against on the 2-on-1s, that ranked 10th. So it wasn't bad. It was just when you didn't protect your goalie on the pass, you got beat. But I guess that coincides with Sammy not being able to go east to west. All right, I'm out.
Steve Valiquette.
Thanks, Valley. Appreciate it.
All right, boys.
Okay, does anybody know more than him?
No.
It's just such a niche position. And to know it that thoroughly, you could ask about any goaltender, and he's got something. It is unbelievable. We need to hand out awards on the show at the end of the year, and he's
first ballot Real Kyper and Bourne Hall of Famer.
there's no
He's on the
denying
left
that.
side of the Mount Rushmore, boys.
Anyways, it gives you a different perspective, a different look of
The Leaf stuff is fast.
of the decisions that are made and why they're made, and like I don't know. I mean, the Leafs must have the same information.
I don't think so.
You don't think so, eh?
No, goaltending stuff is very specific, and I don't. It's possible that they do. I'm not saying it's 100%. I don't think that they have that.
Well, if they had that, the Wall would have been playing game one.
If
And
Sheldon
judging
Keefe
the quality of
talked
starts
to
is,
Valley before game one, might have had a different thought process on starting.
for sure. Like, I'm sure he went to his coaching department and they said, "Here's what we think," but I don't know that. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. Maybe I'm behind
What
the
do we
times.
know?
God, that was good.
All right, Sammy, what do you
Okay.
got for us?
It's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Since we've been talking, more money has been coming in on the Boston Bruins because they've gone from +1. The Leafs have gone from +130 when I first mentioned it to now all the way up to +140. The Boston Bruins are minus
Buddy, that's,
165 on home ice.
That's the Auston Matthews
Effect there.
effect.
Yeah.
So word is starting to get in here
Yes.
that maybe he's not going to be playing tonight,
And the money's swinging.
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. I mean, you
It's
could
still not great value. It's right, like on the Leafs, like +140.
no, that's not. I would really recommend just stay away. Like, there's no even the worst part about this for my gambling purposes. What I do in the playoffs,
Yeah.
there's absolutely no opportunity for a happiness hedge tonight. I wouldn't do it anyway because I don't really feel happiness anymore with the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's no way that this goes right for me. So
Sammy,
Just put
snap
the
out
money.
of it.
Put the money into therapy. How about that?
yeah. Honestly, great point.
Please win.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want them to win. Anyways, if you want the Boston Bruins, maybe minus a goal and a half, you think they're going to kill them. That's +160. Maybe there's a little bit of value there. But yeah, not a ton to go with that one. Your New York Islanders are massive underdogs tonight in Carolina, +225 to see your Islanders going to win, -275 for the Carolina Hurricanes.
That.
The Colorado Avalanche -115 in Winnipeg tonight.
Winnipeg needs a showing tonight in a big way.
I mean, that if you're Connor Hellebuck, you listen to what Valley said. He's like, "Thank you."
Yeah. They've been hanging me out to dry. What did I write down? 15 screenshots, 9 east to west.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot are going in, but those are high
you
numbers.
can't have McCarr coming 1,000 miles an hour through the neutral zone.
No, Winnipeg's whole
Can't
thing
have
is that
it.
they're going to be this great structured team that's tough to get through, right? Good positional, heavy. It ain't been there so far.
And for our friends out west in Vancouver, it is they're -125 to move on to the second round tonight. Nashville Predators +105. Don't know which way you
In
guys lean on that. Yeah, it's in Vancouver. I feel like that was such a backbreaker for Nashville that they may not win tonight.
I also believe that Shilovs has that kind of like young confidence.
Young and
where
dumb?
You're just like, we're just like, I'm the best goalie. I've been the best goalie everywhere I've
It's
ever
my
played.
time
It
to
is my time.
shine.
I should have been the goalie before. Watch.
What's wrong with them?
That is the absolute mentality you want your young goalie to have.
Yes.
They need to put it away, though.
You
I
do.
wouldn't let Nashville hang around.
I tell you, I was disrespectful to Nashville several times this season.
Yeah.
Based on, just looking at their roster and being like,
Yeah.
who do you like here? But boy, that's a hockey team. Game time?
Yeah, that's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, to find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got some news and notes. Still have to talk a little bit Steven Stamkos because that seemed to be a very hot button topic the moment the Tampa Bay Lightning were eliminated last night. Where's his future? Where's Cooper's future? Where's Mike Sullivan's future on this coach's carousel that ain't slowing down anytime soon? So plenty to get into on that and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. A little interesting twist to the Tampa Bay Lightning being knocked out is the fact that we've known all season long that Steven Stamkos was playing the last year of his contract. Interesting to see him be the last one to leave. Right?
Yeah,
he took everybody, as everybody came off the ice.
Oh, yeah.
He, as a captain, last guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I felt the complete vibes of Patrice Bergeron last year, but it had some of the tones.
Well, if you're not sure you're coming back, you're never going to be a Lightning captain again. Take that last moment and soak it in. But he's going back to Tampa Bay, boys.
He's like, hey, Julian, you see me soaking this all in?
Watch this. Yeah.
Look at me.
You're really
going
to let me leave?
Oh, wow.
What did Cooper say? He's like post game.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Clip one on Steven Stamkos from Cooper there, Derek.
John, there's going to be a lot of conversation about the future of Steven Stamkos. What can you say about your captain and if you can imagine him not wearing a Lightning?
I don't know if there'll be much conversation. I hope not anyway. He belongs here. We know it. He knows it. But again, this is 2 seconds after a game, but he and I have grown up together, and he's a heck of a player, but he's also, I suppose in control of his own destiny, but I don't know what's going to happen, but he feels like a bolt for life, but only he and Julian can answer that one.
What a lawyer. Do you hear the lawyering in there? He's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing here.
No, I think he's far beyond that. I don't think he ever worries about saying the wrong thing.
Well, I think he's saying,
he's saying it's not for me to decide.
But I don't think he wants to give but he doesn't want to give anyone the hope, and he's still welcoming Steven back. I think he's a bolt for life. I think that's all.
Is Cooper a bolt for life?
Well, just hold on for a second. I want to stay on Stamkos before you start jumping into your Leaf next head coach of the Toronto Maple Leaf act.
Who said the Leaf?
You.
Yeah, I know.
So he had a hell of a year, and he was the best player for Tampa in this first round.
He had 40.
He's not 35 yet. I think he turns 35 next year. So what do you think's fair for a guy who's going to be 35 years old next year on a new deal?
I mean, his last 3 years are 42, 34, 40 goals. That's not super easy to come by around the league.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, that he's kind of a one-dimensional guy now, right? He shoots it in the net. He's not killing penalties. He is what he is. And I don't think the numbers are going to go up. So you're anticipating getting a 30-goal guy for a few years? I don't know. What do you think? It's
6.5 times
3 from Tampa.
Is that hard? 20 million, 21 million over 3 years?
You were talking a lower number at one point.
Again, the beauty of Tampa, Florida, Vegas is that you could be $1.5 million below other market prices and still come out on top.
Yeah.
That's the beauty. So 6 is like 7.5 in Toronto.
The one thing I think about this is that Tampa Bay is a pretty ruthless and analytical organization, I think. And I think Steven Stamkos at $6.5 million is worth it. He's going to get you 30+ goals, good leader, been through it, won cups.
Going to have a statue there by the end of it, probably.
Yeah, I think he's worth it for sure. But I do think the Lightning are up against it pretty good with their salary cap. And so they, more than any other team, might have to grind the very guy you don't want to grind. If he's willing to be ground, that probably increases his odds of sticking around.
The grinding would have happened with that situation where he was in Toronto, the Leafs presented, and
by
said,
the rumors now, they offered him Canadian
back.
Tire. They offered him the whole chain.
Yeah.
And
I think they're throwing in Tim Hortons.
Yeah, and he still
right?
said
Remember
no.
that?
Yeah.
Do I remember it? Yes, I've held a massive grudge against him ever since. Clearly, I remember it well.
So that was the time you were seriously considering leaving.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it's got to be a really embarrassing offer for him to leave.
Yeah, he'll sit down with Breezewell and be like, I want to stay. How do we make this work? And Breezewell will say, look at our cap. We want you to stay too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we can make this work. Probably ends up.
Maybe it is 5.5. At the end of the day,
Maybe it's 7.
He's, I don't know, career earnings got to
lot.
be close to 80, 100 million.
Remember the Sedins at the end just did yearly deals? They're like, yeah, we'll sort it out every year. We want to be here. You want us here. So
Yeah. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Career earnings are 99.5 schmil.
There you go.
man,
Yeah.
Yep, quite good.
that's so many. That's like 2 NBA seasons for a good player.
With no state tax.
Yeah, not bad.
With no state tax.
There simply is no world in which he does not play for the Lightning next year.
Well, just trying to imagine a team that
like,
he's.
I mean,
goes to.
Nashville going
Why
to
would he
Godfather
leave?
offer him? Like, I don't know.
Here's the other thing you got to consider. Is
Dallas, maybe?
that
Maybe.
they're still good. They're still like prime good.
But it's tough to see them getting better, and they're not good enough.
Well, then you're going to have to find, I think, another D.
Mm-hmm. Sergachev helps.
Then there's Hedman. There's Hedman who needs a new contract. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is he eligible to sign a new deal as early as July 1st, and then he's UFA at the end of next season?
UFA at the end of next year, yep.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one too.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think maybe they have to pick
One or the other. Do you think in that case you pick the 6'7" defenseman?
I don't know. They're both legends,
Yeah.
both future Hall of Famers, and arguably 1, 2, and 3 and most popular in history.
It's extremely cool. Like, I know the Stanley Cup he played all the way through is awesome, but the 1 year that he was hurt and he played 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Scored. I know I wrote about the full 239. I broke down every second of his playoff run.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ting.
All right.
Before we move on from the Lightning, I guess maybe we're going to talk about Cooper.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about the Leafs and guys missing games and all that. Sergachev explodes his leg. When was that? Felt like it was last week.
Yeah.
I don't know, 5 months ago.
No.
3
Less
and a half,
than that.
4.
Yeah,
I
probably.
don't
It was in
remember.
this year. It was in 24.
And he comes back when their team is down
Early
3-0.
January.
Maybe that's why he comes back, because it's like, well, nothing's going to, whatever. Like, it just doesn't matter or whatever.
Just coming back to
February 7th.
And I watch him in that game last night. This guy's diving in front of shots. He's involved in the game. He should have had a goal with the disallowed goal. Like, it's just like dogs.
Yeah.
It's just different thing.
Are we
Anyways,
going back to Toronto?
No.
Everything's about Toronto.
Everything's going back.
How can I not watch that and then see what I'm dealing with and not? I mean, TJ Brosh.
I get it.
TJ Bro, the broken hand of sore back, like his back's all
I get it.
Cooper.
I get
Talk
it.
about Cooper.
Okay. It's my understanding he's got 1 more year left on his deal, but sometimes that might not matter if you're not aligned in the same place. I hear that's probably being more questioned in Pittsburgh between Sullivan and Kyle Dubas. And I think Kyle Dubas came out publicly and said that no one's asked us for permission on Sullivan, nor has permission been granted. I found that very interesting.
Everything's great.
He needed to come out and say that.
Yeah.
I love that.
But those are the 2 names that if they have a change of heart or feel like their time is, at an end in their respective cities, they can make something happen.
The thing is, like, my understanding about the way Sullivan likes to build a team and play is similar to Dubas's, right? Like speed and skill over brawn and, bulk. Same thing, probably.
But here's the difference, though, is that you're bottoming out now. You missed the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily what do we need to build. It's like, how do we strip?
Do you think they're going to...
How do we strip down to rebuild?
You think they're going to be worse? Like they're going to try to get bad, you think?
I don't know if they're going to try to get bad, but you need to make big decisions on who stays and who goes. Like before you bring in and build, you gotta strip something here. They gotta clean something up here. And I'm not sure, if they're completely aligned yet on that.
I think there's fireworks to come from Pittsburgh still. Like, I don't know who that is. Is it Malkin? Is it
Marner for Crosby.
Carlson? Is it Marner for Crosby? Like I am curious to see, because I don't think they're just going to, all right, well, we'll try this again next year. Like you can't do that.
No.
Yeah.
Remains to be seen.
If you had to, out of the two guys more likely to have a new destination next year between Cooper and Mike Sullivan, it would probably be Mike Sullivan.
Yeah, I would say Mike Sullivan.
Cooper, he's a really smart guy who's the coach of a team that's got good players in a tax-free state that's warm in the winter. I don't see him being like, I'm going to go take on
Toronto,
San Jose. San Jose's nice.
If in fact, I don't know, Sullivan finds his way on the out somewhere, New Jersey, I don't know.
Yeah.
And things don't go well for the Toronto Maple Leafs. In Boston tonight, you worked for Sheldon and Kyle Dubas. Do you see any world where if there is an opening in Pittsburgh that Kyle Dubas will go back to his old friend, Sheldon Keefe?
Reunited.
I don't think so. I don't think it's good for either of them to do that. I think you would become known as a package deal, right? And if it fails there, you can't, who's going to hire one of them knowing it's two? If you need a new coach, I just feel like they need to create separation to say, I can exist independently.
They're tight. There's some, Peter DeBoer and Steve Spott have been together for 20 years.
Yeah, but
right?
that's an assistant coach, right? GM and coach, is it possible to have a 20-year career doing that? But listen, I'm not saying it's not possible. They are super close.
I get it. And I agree with you, by the way.
It's not good for them.
I do
not
agree with you that, can you guys, show everybody you're not joined at the hip?
Right.
I mean, if Sheldon Keefe's a free agent and they're looking for a coach and Kyle Dubas is the general manager, what are the chances that, you think he would really be maybe he's an assistant, maybe that's the way he gets back in, was an assistant with Pittsburgh, but to me, it's hard to picture it not happening.
Yeah.
I mean maybe not the best sell to Sid. I don't know.
They went deep in junior. They won a Calder Cup. They, took the Leafs to the second round.
That's special.
We'll see.
Okay. Just to go back, one more thought on the Tampa, Florida, and this is more a general topic, but they were the two prime examples of goaltender interference last night.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was interesting to watch Cooper handle the second one for me. By challenging it. And it was almost as if I watched it as if John Cooper was daring the NHL to take away another goal. That's the way I saw the second challenge.
I saw it as, we don't believe that we can generate more. It's so hard to score on this team that I would rather take my chances of having this go in our favor than say, all right, we're just going to allow them to overturn it and try and score again. It's hard to score.
The difference between the two, though, is that the first one was good goal on the ice and they overturned it. And then the second one was no goal on the ice and they tried to get it overturned. So they're two very different situations. But to me, they're both egregious. The first one, he's getting held on to. He gets backed into the goalie. And then the second one, it's are we playing hockey here?
Goalies are supposed to be hockey players.
He's outside of the crease. He throws his stick to sell it. It's what are we doing?
It's a dumb league.
Bingo.
I didn't see it the way you saw it. I'm the goalie crasher, man. I'm the first guy that wants to bother them. And
I've seen a YouTube video about that.
Well, didn't like the outcome of that one, but we'll leave that for another day. But I'm all over bothering them. But what I saw last night, I favor the goalies. I favor the goalies. And
this is not a hockey play.
For me, it always has to come down to you are in the blue paint. That's undeniable. It's about how you got there. And I saw both of them in scenarios where they weren't pushed in. I know he was being held, but if you're being held away from the goalie. How do you go into the blue paint?
The Cirelli spin, I think he would have stayed above the goalie were it not for the D. However, the D has that ice, right? Like, so to your point, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt there. The D has the ice, so he's allowed to be there.
Spin put himself into the blue paint.
Yeah.
When you're into the blue paint, then it's an easy sell to go, I can't move. You're in my paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the glove that got caught around Cirelli's foot for just a split second, and then he drops the stick.
He throws a classic goalie diver.
Which totally sold it.
Yeah, classic.
So that's why you get the waived call. But it's all about how you got in there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got pushed in there, then all bets are off. But if you go in there on your own, then you totally run the risk
I thought
of losing the
Cirelli
goal.
just could have claimed he got bumped. I think if that goal is called a goal on the ice, it probably stands as a goal. I think it's that close.
And can we really be honest here? Don't think it would have mattered.
No, they lose by.
Florida is a wagon.
Yeah.
And that Barkov looks so good. Oh, my God, he's good.
Yeah, they're licking their chops at the Bruins Leafs winner.
Like, it's
the Bruins.
He's Patrice Bergeron. Like, he's that smart.
Yeah, he's a player. He's the new Selke guy. Here's your Selke trophy. Go get it.
And not even close second for me.
Yeah. Not here to argue that point.
No, can't.
He's
got
so
nothing for you
good.
on that one.
He's so good. And they're, even with Sam Bennett, like, Sam Bennett's an important player.
Now, you can win with injuries?
Yes, you can.
That's allowed.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, your captain can score a goal in the game. Do you
Jets?
I do Jets, but to me, Rangers Florida is a tantalizing conference final, and that's what if the Leafs can't create miracles, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
Is Tampa, is Florida and the Rangers.
That would be lovely.
Yeah.
Winnipeg Jets need Connor Hellebuck to not just be okay, to not just be good. They need him to be exceptional. They're kind of built on that. Rick Bowness weighed in on that for tonight's matchup.
This is a big game. You know it. Your players know it. How'd you characterize the vibe that you're getting so far today?
Great. Yep, the guys are good. We just had a really good meeting with them. Talking to the guys a lot this morning. You know, they all feel good. Listen, they know our best hockey. We haven't played it yet. They know that. They know we need to play with more discipline, so we stay out of the penalty box. They know we need to score some more goals. They understand, but there's not one guy in that room ready to call it a day and call the season over. So I'm very confident that we're gonna see the A game from everybody tonight. There's a great mood in the room. The practice was good, lots of energy. So we just hope that carries into the game tonight.
Listen, between him and Sheldon Keefe, I get it. Like, you know, maybe not the best time to dump on your players right now. You gotta, you're gonna win. You're gonna lose together.
Yeah. No, it is that time of year where, you know, it's not, the coaching should be done by now, and it's a matter of trusting your people and supporting them and getting them in the right mind frame. And the Colorado team has looked very good.
Don't love their chances against Hurricane McCarr.
No.
He's a different animal. Like, he is in the McDavid class for me. Like, he's right there.
Well, I've said this before, and it's a controversial opinion, and I'm not even sure I believe it. But you offer me which one to start a team with. It's not.
We're having a meeting.
We're having a meeting.
Definitely.
That's exactly the point I want to make. Is that it's not just like with everyone else in the league, it's McDavid.
Right.
With McCarr, I got to think about it.
Toronto done or they win tonight?
God. I mean, they lose tonight.
Yeah.
Done.
Done.
Islanders, Hurricanes?
Done.
Done.
Hi, Isles.
Done. Corned beef. Jets, Avalanche? Oh my gosh, we got a lot of Burger King
I want the
Whoppers
opposite
here.
of all those results,
There's
by
just
the way.
grill marks everywhere right now.
Done. Vancouver goes through.
Yes.
Dan City.
Enjoy your game tonight, and we're back tomorrow at 11 Eastern on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.